The Marlins take the series against the Dodgers, but at what cost? Sandy Alcantara and Roy Soler to the IL. How are the Marlins going to arrange and align their pitching moving forwards? Oh boy, this could be interesting. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast. I am your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe. It's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It might not be your first listen, though. You may have just joined me on the Spaces. A lot of discourse going on the Spaces. It wasn't even my Spaces specifically. It was hosted by my good friend Dave Shaw, UK Phillies. But it was good to talk. Got me thinking of a few topics for this episode. But nevertheless, I lose my trail of thought already, just 1 minute in. There is a YouTube channel, guys. Head on over there. Hit subscribe. We're over 1,000 subscribers now. You know what that means. If you know, you know. Nevertheless, join the conversation over there, particularly in the comments section on YouTube. Always a lot of fun. Guys, it's the Friday episode of Locked On Marlins. Firstly, this episode is sponsored by birddogs, and you can go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter the promo code LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle with any order. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise you. Guys, there's a series win to reflect on. There's a series on deck with the Phils to look ahead to. This is a crucial period for the Marlins. The Diamondbacks have just beaten the Cubs. It's all happening. The Marlins are absolutely in the wild card hunt, clearly. And really, this week, a week on the road against the Phils and the Brewers, two teams that, listen, are good teams this year by their records anyway. On the road against good teams, boy, oh boy, the Marlins, it's not really been their spot to perform, to be honest with you, this season. They've played well at home. They've beat up on poor teams, but on the road against good teams, I'm a little bit nervous, I'm not going to lie. And I'm particularly nervous because, you lose Roy Soler. I think, and personally, I think Roy Soler, the Marlins can manage without Roy Soler the rest of the way. The reason being is because they had a really impressive deadline and added a couple of power sticks. And Jesus Sanchez and Brian De La Cruz also, showing signs of September life. And Jazz Chisholm equally, new stance, new hitter. So they can manage that Roy Soler situation better. The Sandy Alcantara situation is, to be honest with you, could well fully derail this Marlins season. And the reason being, and this is what we got into on the Spaces conversation that just happened right now, was, just Sandy's innings, the ability to just deliver the body of work, the innings, the length, all of these descriptions that alleviates the pressure on the rest of the rotation and the bullpen. All of a sudden, how do the Marlins handle this game on Sunday? That's where the conversation got to. And it sounds like it's probably going to be some sort of bullpen game after the fact that you're going to have Yuri Perez going in game one. So that's 90 pitches max. So that's kind of 5-6 innings. You then got Johnny Cueto. That's going to be 5 earned runs through 5 innings, probably. So that's another 4 innings of bullpen work. And then a bullpen game. No off day, I don't believe, into the Brewers either. So, this Sandy Alcantara injury, it's having short-term impact. It'll probably have mid-term impact. And we pray that there's going to be no major long-term impact. And what I mean by that is, we don't know. We haven't got the full details at this point. But, clearly, with any kind of arm flexor, any of these types of muscle injuries that look like a strain but need more investigation, it could become even more serious with like a Tommy John type requirement down the line, which would then put Sandy out for the whole of 2024. So I don't want to take us into that dark place in this episode. There's no reason to take us into that dark place because fundamentally, the Marlins have just won a series against the Dodgers, one of the hottest teams in baseball. They're number 2 seed in the NL. Like, they're a good team. They're dealing with their own issues right now, off the field, on the field, tons of things going on with the Dodgers. But, the Marlins won that series. And again, it's a good team. And the Marlins played well at home. They've played well at home all year. On the road, less so. And that's kind of what you'd expect to see. But I mean, I am impressed with the way the Marlins have been able to perform at home. But listen, it fundamentally came down to this 9-inning run. 9-run inning. Boy, oh boy, what am I talking about? This 9-run inning against the Dodgers, where it's been, it's one of the best innings I've ever seen of baseball the Marlins have ever played. Started, and the catalyst to it all was Jacob Stallings getting a stand-up double. Great to see. But also Jacob Stallings, in the second time, I think in that inning, he ends up dropping down a bunt. Jacob Stallings dropping the bunt, baby. It was an unbelievable scene. So you've got, everything going right for the Marlins in that inning. And it incorporated, a Jesus Sanchez bomb. It incorporated a Jazz Chisholm Jr. bomb. Like a 9-inning, God, I've said it again, 9-run inning was just, wild to see. And, that's the type of thing that we haven't seen much from the Marlins after the All-Star break, is these kind of like big innings where they really piece it together. There was a lot of zeros and a lot of ones, but not many kind of crooked numbers, as they say. I mean, a 9 is the most crooked of numbers in many ways. So, impressive win, an impressive series win. They came back down to earth yesterday in the finale. Unfortunately, kind of Braxy, it wasn't like the Braxy we've seen. We ran into some trouble like in multiple innings, just, couldn't even get through 4. The Marlins were still in the game, though, at that point. However, then things kind of took a turn for the worse. And when we look back at that game, the main highlight really, the Dodgers had a perfecto going, relatively deep into the game. But the main highlight will be the ball boy mistakenly jumping on the field down on the right field line, thinking it was a foul ball. It wasn't. It was a fair ball. And he jumps onto the field, fields it pretty well, and effectively launches it into the stands, and was looking pretty happy with himself. As then Jesus Sanchez kind of trots into the camera shot, and just stands there just totally flabbergasted at what's going on. It was like one of the, iconic moments, maybe. We have had reports, I believe, from Andy Slater reporting that the ball boy remains with the club and within the organization still. So I think, a little bit more training for him, but it sounds like he still has his job. So that's good to see. That's good to hear. But, overall, you got to look at this Dodgers series and think, a series win against the Dodgers, you have to take that. Many before the series would have thought, listen, Kershaw's going, that's going to be tough, et cetera, et cetera. So to walk out winning that series, irrespective of that final game, it didn't go well, but we got to see Devin Smeltzer back up again, right? And I think that's another interesting wrinkle here with the Marlins the rest of the way, where you're going to have just this rotational arm that's going to keep coming up. And when it's required, you throw 3 and a bit innings and you're DFA'd. And then the next guy comes up, throws 3, DFA'd. Unfortunately, that's the kind of cycle of arms the Marlins have got at this point, because, they're trying to keep Brian Hoeing and they're trying to keep George Soriano as guys that can deliver like valuable long innings, but not guys that are there just to kind of wear it, if that makes sense. So, the Yamamoto role, as I think it's almost been kind of famed recently. So, that's going to be another interesting wrinkle here for the Fish. But as I mentioned on the pod, the emergency pod, like the Marlins have just run out of arms. They've run out of arms big time. They have just no starting pitching depth. They didn't really have any starting pitching depth, and and then even Sandy's gone down. So they've got Yuri Perez on a pitch count, on an innings limit. I can't even speak. I haven't had any beers, by the way, so I have to call that out. But they're trying to manage this whole situation, and it's becoming a really tricky one for Skip to manage. And they've just, they're running out of arms. So that's going to be the key thing to the rest of the way, is just how can they get these innings, these meaningful innings done? And how does Skip's bullpen management change? Like how quickly it felt like, do you remember early in the season where like, if they were like loosely close to a game, then the leverage relievers would be in there. And actually the Marlins would find a way to turn it around the 7th, the 8th, or the 9th. I get the sense that the white flag will be coming out a lot earlier from Skip Schumaker in games with like, trying to protect arms and protect and save arms for the right times, rather than putting them in hopeful innings that the Marlins offense can kind of spin it around. Is that the right way? It probably is at this point. But, that was one of the really good things that the Marlins did earlier in the year. the fact that Skip was so aggressive with his bullpen management, got his best guys out there, when maybe the game looked to be slipping away, then all of a sudden the offense, it found a way to get some wins. That was kind of a big catalyst to the Marlins doing so well in the kind of first half and early part of the year. And unfortunately, I think the way things have gone, the depth, the challenges they're facing into with kind of starting pitching, length, bullpen management, like I fear those days may be gone. And so like if the game looks to be kind of like slipping away in the 5th or 6th, you're probably not going to get your best guys out there, and thus they may end up tacking on a few more, and things could get even more out of hand. Who knows? First out of the day, guys, and it's our good friends over at Bird Dogs. We need to talk about those, but we also need the sexy new graphics up as well. So let's get that sexed up. There we go. Guys, Bird Dogs, let's talk about it. We've spoken about them plenty. And listen, it's been boiling hot here in the UK as well, I must say. So, you know, from a Bird Dogs perspective, you are looking for extreme comfort at this point. But while you're looking for comfort, you got to look good. You got to look sexy. And listen, Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts, they are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you that sculpted look, baby. Those shorts, they do the exact same thing as the Lululemons. Is that the right way to pronounce that? I think it is. But they fit way better. It's better than that stiff, restricting cotton and those regular shorts that you get. No good. Bird Dogs, the best thing is, this is what I think anyway, because the modern day man, we roll from thing to thing. As a dad as well, I roll from thing to thing. I'm like, at one point I'm on the tennis court. Next thing is I'm picking the kids up from school. Next thing is I'm having a beer with one of the dads. You know, it's just you move occasion to occasion. But that's the beauty of these Bird Dogs shorts. They are uber functional for basically any occasion. The golf course, dates, evening out, pool workout, you know, you name it, they've got you absolutely covered. So all you have to do is get yourselves onto birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter the promo code LockedOnMLB at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your offer. That's birddogs.com, birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, Peter Pratt, here on Friday's episode of Locked On Marlins. The Marlins won the series against the Dodgers, but it was not without collateral damage, unfortunately, with Sandy and Soler going down. The Phillies series on deck, and boy, oh boy, this is going to be an interesting one. Interesting for a few reasons. The Phils equally, like they have a good, nice cushion in the wild card spots right now, clearly. They've got a bit of a tricky schedule coming up right now. So I do wonder, like, all of a sudden, if they lose this series and then they have to go and face the Braves, and they've then got another series in close proximity to that against the Braves, like the Phillies have, there is a chance where they could just like walk into a tricky spot and go cold at exactly the wrong time. Not to say I expect that to happen, and not to say I expect them to miss the postseason, but I don't think the Phillies are truly, truly safe. And so if they go cold all of a sudden, we'll see. What I would say, Yuri Perez going this evening, Yuri Perez has just been, like, since he's come back, he's delivered some of his best performances of the year. I must say that. The other thing I have to call out is his main kryptonite is the home run ball. I have got the popcorn ready for Kyle Schwarber versus Yuri Perez, because that could go, well, one of two ways. You know, all Schwarber's at-bats go one of two ways. It's either a strikeout or a home run. So we'll see which one it is. But, you know, for me, if Yuri Perez can obviously stay away from that long ball, and there's a lot of guys in that lineup that can do some damage, clearly, then, you know, he'll give the Marlins a really good chance to win that game. I think it's critical the Marlins take the first one. I think the next two look a little bit dicey, frankly. We spoke a lot on the spaces about Johnny Cueto. So do go back and listen to it. A lot of people talking about Cueto. Fundamentally, we all thought he was cooked. Since he's been back, he's performed to an adequate level. And an adequate level means it's like a 4 to 5 ERA, you know, type of dude. You know, he's given up 4 or 5 runs. Like, if the Marlins are going to win a game with Johnny Cueto going, they need to score 6 or more effectively. Like, that's really what we've seen. So the offense needs to play well in game 2. It's against Aaron Nola. It's fair to say Aaron Nola, similar kind of, you know, from a role perspective, he plays a similar role to Sandy Alcantara within that Phillies rotation, where they're looking for him to go deep, really deep into games. But, with Nola as well, he has a long ball problem. He's got a few problems this year. And so, let's not forget as well, Luis Arias had the cycle against Aaron Nola earlier back in the year. So game 1, crucial. Game 2, I think, is interesting. And then game 3 with the bullpen, just who knows? You never know with those bullpen games. And on a Sunday, on a day game and a bullpen game, you never quite know how that's going to go. Every time you look at it and go, man, the Phillies are going to take that one. But baseball is weird. It's always weird. And it wouldn't shock me if the Marlins end up losing the first 2 and then take a bullpen game. And, you just roll on from that. But this is going to be a tough ask. And it's going to be interesting just to see how this rotation of bullpen can start to just gel. And like I've already mentioned, how Skip tries to manage this whole thing. Because without the workhorse, Sandy, you do just have your concerns that there may be this rotation and just the pitching staff in general could just fully fracture and fall apart. The interesting bit is going to be how they mix and match the rotation. I felt that the plan was going to be to go to a 6-man rotation with Eddie Cabrera coming back up and then just cycle around everyone, in and around Sandy, maybe going every 5th day. So Eddie Cabrera obviously came out of the bullpen in game 2 and looked great. Frankly, looked great. He went, 4 innings in that one and looked great. But right now, the way the Marlins have this need, that's going to be Eddie back into a rotation. The interesting question for me is whether they go still with an opener into Eddie Cabrera. They went really ultra non-conventional with their approach of that. They had 3 openers, if you want to look at it that way. So I guess this is going to be the question: is does Cabrera slide back into a traditional rotation spot and actually start the game? Does he give does he have a starter's pitch count, but maybe has an opener going before him? Chargois seems to have kind of taken up that role. So that's going to be interesting. Or do they stick with it as is and kind of go bullpen, but with Cabrera taking 4 innings at the right kind of lane, if that's the right description or how people phrase these things these days? I don't know. But it's a crucial series. It really is. And it's definitely not a series where the Marlins can kind of roll in, feel sorry for themselves because they've lost Sandy and they've lost Soler. The team needs to roll in and be ready to scrap it out with the Phils. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. The Phils have been playing, some decent ball. They're clearly, in the wild card 1 spot, but they know what's coming for them too in terms of the series they've got to play. And so, they'll be up for it. We always have the JT Realmuto revenge, which continues as we go. And I believe, just as I was about to hit record on this and at the back end of the spaces, that there's some news regarding Sixto Sanchez. So I'm going to try and find that shortly. And but before we do that, we'll cover our next ad. Yeah, here we go. Sixto Sanchez, according to Jordan McPherson of the Herald, Sixto Sanchez will join AA Pensacola on the road. He was scheduled for a bullpen tomorrow. Progress is what Jordan has put down. I don't know what that means. He's joining them on the road to go and pitch in a game for Pensacola? Maybe. I mean, that would be a big step forward for the Marlins. Big step forward. Not sure if that's exactly what's happening. Maybe he's just joining a bit like Sandy on the road with his club, just as a cheerleader, effectively. But anyway, I've gone off topic there. Let's get into our final ad, and then we'll kind of wrap things up here on a Friday. Feels like I've been speaking a lot, mainly because I did an hour-long space before we actually did this. But this episode is also brought to you by our friends over at, and wait for it, FanDuel, baby. And I bet everyone was absolutely hammering FanDuel yesterday because you can get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers, not just new, all customers can bet $5 and get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. What a stunning offer. Seen a few people on Twitter yesterday trying to work out, how do I get this YouTube and YouTube TV for NFL Sunday Ticket? Here's how. Bet $5 with FanDuel. Get up to $100 off. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, guys, we're going to wrap things up here pretty shortly here because I think we've covered the key points on Friday's episode. Big 3-game series here for the Fish. Big test for the Marlins staff and bullpen. Big test for Skip Schumaker in terms of managing everything. I think the Marlins can handle losing Jorge Soler. I think they still have the firepower in the lineup to handle that. Interested to see what kind of a series Josh Bell has. Dave Shaw from UK Phillies on the Spaces calling out that Josh Bell has been a Phillies killer over the years. So hopefully we get more of that. Luis Ariz obviously has good vibes against the Phils, having had the cycle against them. So we'll see how it goes. But for the Marlins, I think there is a pathway to them sneaking this series. I think it will be a sneak if they do it. It may be done in an unconventional way. Looks like I've seen the lineup is out. Jazz is a lefty going. Jazz is in that 7 spot again against the lefty. Jesus Sanchez not on the lineup. I did see. I believe maybe Garrett Hampson playing in right field. No Xavier Edwards today as well with this lefty going. So, lefty on the mound. Last time the Marlins faced a lefty, things went well. Let's hope they can do the same and get the dub. There's going to be an episode tomorrow, though, guys. We're going to have a Saturday episode because really there should have been a Friday episode with the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett. Unfortunately, we had a misalignment on the time, which is my fault. But going to bring the UK GOAT on and have a bonus Saturday episode. Recapping Yuri Perez start, equally looking ahead to the rest of the series, plus just other general topics because we haven't had the UK GOAT for almost 2 weeks. So we have to make it happen. Thanks for joining me and making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekends. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.